There are more than just a few ways that your bike is literally weighing you down on the climbs. In this video, we're going to talk you through a few of the obvious, a few of the less obvious, and some of the slightly more expensive ways that your bike can be made a little bit lighter. Let's kick off today by saving some free weight, because if something's free, it's always better, isn't it? Two 750ml bottles weigh around 1.5 kilos. When you include the weight of the bottle, it's going to be a little bit more. I'm only going to ride for an hour, so I know that I don't need to take 1.5 litres of fluid. For me, that would be enough for around 3 hours. For 1 hour, I'm going to need around 500ml, which is going to save me an entire kilo. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but if you consider I'm going to do quite a hilly hour's ride, around 400 to 500 metres of climbing, that could be as much as 1 minute saved. And whilst 1 minute over an hour doesn't sound much, imagine if it is one steady climb of just 30 minutes. That 1 minute is going to feel like an eternity if Hank's waiting for me at the top. Right, moving away from the centre of the bike now and up towards where my saddlebag should be. Unfortunately, Hank's borrowed it for another bike packing trip, which he seems to be doing a lot of these days, and good on him, he enjoys it. Now, picture the contents of your saddlebag. What would you have in there? An inner tube, a multi-tool perhaps, maybe you'd have some puncture repair patches, some gas canisters, that kind of thing. Is all of that really necessary for an hour-long ride? Imagine you got one of those big multi-tools with a chain breaker. When was the last time you used a chain breaker on a bike ride? Could you perhaps get away with using a much smaller multi-tool like this one? And then when you come onto your tubes, could you get away with maybe using one of those ultra-light, tiny emergency tubes that you see on the internet these days? I think you probably could. That saves around 300 grams alone, and that sort of weight up high on your bike is really going to make a difference, especially if you're climbing quite a bit. Whilst we're talking about saddlebags, how about the part of the bike from which they are hung, the saddle? Are you guilty of doing something which I've done for years, which is using the heavily padded version of the same saddle which I'm currently using on my bike? It's not saved me a huge amount of weight between these two saddles, but going from a saddle which is wildly padded compared to using a lightweight racing carbon saddle could save you as much as 200 grams. Now 200 grams might not sound like lots, but when it's at the top of your seat post and being propelled from side to side as you're climbing out the saddle, that's costing you a lot of energy which could otherwise be put into propelling the bike forwards up the climb. Now when it comes to choosing a saddle, it's actually the shape of the saddle and the design, not the quantity of the padding, that's going to dictate just how comfortable it is for you. And you should always try your best to find a saddle which matches your body and makes you feel comfortable on the bike. One of the most often overlooked ways to save a little bit of weight from your bike is to change the tyres. There's a chance that when you bought your bike, it was spec'd to a price point, meaning that the tyres probably weren't the priority. Something like the wheel set or the group set probably was. I'm not saying you should throw your tyres away straight away. That's completely wasteful. But when they wear down, it's the perfect opportunity to upgrade to something a little bit lighter. Maybe you can go from a steel bead to a folding bead that's going to save a little bit of weight, or you can just go to a slightly more expensive version of the tyre you already have. It's going to do more to make your bike feel zippy and fast on the climbs or on the flat than almost any other change you can make for that sort of price. If you are upgrading your tyres, it's also the perfect opportunity to upgrade your inner tubes as well. Latex inner tubes are proven to have lower rolling resistance than standard butyl inner tubes, so you should feel a bit of a benefit there. And if you're playing around with your tyres and stuff like that, why don't you go tubeless? It doesn't make it any lighter, but it buys you that peace of mind that you're less likely to puncture, which may mean that you dare go out without taking a spare tube and a pump, and that is saving you weight. Now you know we're clutching at straws when it comes down to saving the micrograms from your bike, but there are a few things that were on your bike when you bought it which you don't necessarily need for day-to-day use. For a start, valve caps and valve stem collars. You don't really need those, although the collars could perhaps prevent the valve from rattling in your rim. When you bought your bike, you may have noticed that your rear wheel came with a plastic disc between the cassette and the spokes. That's to protect the wheel from having the derailleur shift up and into it. If your derailleur is well adjusted, you don't actually need one of these at all, although it would be a costly mistake if it wasn't. Your bike probably also came with reflectors on the wheels. You don't necessarily need those, although I am a big fan of being well seen when out on the bike. I try and wear bright colours, but most importantly, I always ride with my lights on as well. And to that end, I've also removed the standard reflectors that would have come with the bike. We really are only saving a few grams here, but it does make the bike look that little bit neater, that little bit sleeker, and you can argue that when something looks cool, it feels fast. On this video so far, we have tried to focus on more the cost-effective ways to save a little bit of weight, hence the rotational mass of the tyre. Other things that turn, the rims, very expensive upgrade, disc brake rotors, cassettes. Now, surprisingly, you can get a much lighter cassette. It's not as much as a set of wheels, but it will save you up to 200 grams again. I can't believe that. That sounds staggering to me. Pedals is a place you can lose a bit of weight, as is your chain set. And if you really want to go fast, maybe some ceramic bearings in your hubs as well. It's a great way to upgrade. Now, if I was being really pedantic and I wanted to save every last gram, I could always choose to remove my bike computer, the Element Roam, the Wahoo Element Roam, and use its smaller sibling, the Wahoo Element Bolt. That has only saved me a few grams, and since I like big data on my screen, I'm going to keep that one there, but it is something to bear in mind. So there are just a few of our favourite ways to save that little bit of extra weight from your bike without really changing anything about the way it rides. Have you ever tried any of these? And if you have, how much weight did you manage to trim from your favourite ride? Drop it in the comments below, and also let us know if there are any extra ways that you save weight from your bike. If you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and for more videos, click on my bike right now.